earlier, it was reported that the Justice Department, Trump's Justice Department, was making the case in the federal courts that the Affordable Care Act should be repealed in its entirety. Then the story evolved or devolved, depending on how you want to look at it, with Donald Trump arguing that Republicans will be the party of healthcare and that they have a much better plan. But there wasn't a plan, and that had become abundantly clear. So then he ends up tweeting about how after the 2020 election, if he gets elected, he will put forth a healthcare plan that will be better than the Affordable Care Act.
Hilarious.
And then Mitch McConnell had a talk with him. And so here's the latest on the story, which broke not too long ago. So Trump apparently came out and told reporters, quote, "I wanted to put it after the election because we don't have the House." So he was arguing, well, we don't have the House now, but I was hoping that we would have the House after the 2020 election, and then I would, in his words, put it after the election.
Yeah, so this is a bad idea in several different ways for the Republican Party, which is great for the rest of us. But the fact that he thought it was a great idea to tackle healthcare right afterwards, we got a lot of details on that for you. Almost everybody tried to talk him out of it, but look, what did I tell you? He's too stupid and he won't listen to reason, and especially after the kind of release of the Mueller report, he thinks he's king of the world and can't make any mistakes. Hilarious, hilarious. So he walks right into a Democratic bear trap of it, but it's not really. He kind of built his own bear trap and then sprung it. But then the second part of it is to then make up for it by saying, "Oh, don't worry, we'll do it after the election." Well, you just gave everybody a reason to vote for Democrats because they think if you win, you're now going to take away healthcare from at least 20 million people. But as we've explained on the show, actually a lot more than that. So Mitch McConnell and everyone else is like, no, what have you done?
And remember, the Trump administration, specifically the Department of Justice under the Trump administration, is attempting to repeal the Affordable Care Act right now, which means that all the various protections that Americans have when it comes to healthcare would be taken away, including protections for those who have pre-existing conditions. And so to say, no, we want to repeal right now, and then after 2020, I'll put forth my proposal. I mean, of course, that's gonna stoke tensions, fears, and it is not looking good for him. And so here's where Mitch McConnell steps in, because Mitch McConnell completely disagreed with this strategy or non-strategy. And so according to the Associated Press, Senator McConnell said he, quote, made it clear to Trump that we are not going to be doing that in the Senate, meaning we're not gonna be voting on healthcare in the Senate. Also asked whether there were differences between him and Trump on the issue. McConnell replied, not any longer.
Damn, you understand what that means? That means I went and set him straight. I told him, hey, listen, idiot, you're gonna make us lose the Senate as well as the House if you keep insisting that we work on a healthcare plan. I don't know if you know this, moron, but we don't have one, nor are we ever going to get one. Our plan was to destroy Obamacare, put the healthcare industry in even more in charge, let them deny coverage to tens of millions of Americans, and so that they could have bigger profits. That was our plan. And American people don't like that plan. So shut up, you idiot. And Trump's like, yeah, well, I think we're gonna have a great plan. And Mitch McConnell's like, we don't have one. Nor are we ever going to have one, okay? So stop saying that. And he's like, oh, I got a great idea though. I'll make the 2020 elections about this issue. And Mitch McConnell's like, are you not listening? We lost 40 seats in the House because we made the election about healthcare. And the Democrats kicked our ass. Okay, fine, we're not going to make it about healthcare. So that's why Mitch McConnell comes out and goes, well, we don't have any disagreements any longer. So apparently he broke through, but others did not.
Right.
The head of the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, apparently sat him down, but so did his own campaign manager for Trump's 2020 re-election, Brad Pascal. They both got on the phone with him and they're like, Donald, please, we're begging you, don't do healthcare, okay? He's like, oh no, I got this great idea. I'm gonna tell the courts that we're going to be totally and completely opposed to Obamacare and wipe it out. His own campaign manager's like, don't, whatever you do, don't, right? And he didn't listen to them, he didn't listen to anybody else, he blundered in there. and created this giant mess. Mitch McConnell thinks he's got it cleaned up. By the way, note to Mitch, no you don't. You think he's gonna just stick to what you said? 2 days later, he'll be back at it on Twitter. We're gonna have the best healthcare plan, the strongest, most beautiful healthcare plan you've ever seen.
That was a great impression of Donald Trump, but I just want to show you video evidence of how this story has just devolved or evolved, depending on how you look at it, because I think it's great that in this very moment, it appears that Donald Trump is not gonna be as aggressive in trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But again, you never know how things are gonna end up with Trump. You never know what his mood is gonna be on any given day, who was the last person he talked to. William Barr, his own attorney general, was apparently part of the team of individuals surrounding him who tried to convince him not to go through with this, and he didn't listen. But apparently Mitch McConnell had more sway than all of these other people around Trump. Now with that said, here's a video from March 27th, and it's Donald Trump talking about how Republicans are gonna handle healthcare.
Let me just tell you exactly what my message is. The Republican Party will soon be known as the party of healthcare. You watch.
Wrong.
I can just see Mitch McConnell in the background being like, okay, so the other people who tried to talk him out of it were White House counsel Pat Cipollone, Attorney General William Barr. He will not listen to reason. He is not smart. He does not do strategy. So now he's getting clowned by Chuck Schumer. I can't believe I'm going to compliment Schumer, but I am. He's got a great quote.
And we have that quote in the form of a video. Let's take a look.
This reeks of desperation, and they do not have a backup plan. Last night, the president tweeted that they will come up with their plan in 2021. Translation, they have no health care plan. It's the same old song they've been singing. Therefore, repeal, they have no replace. President Trump confirmed that he will hold Americans hostage through the 2020 election when it comes to health care.
So look, that was indisputable. When you say, I'll come up with my secret magic plan in 2021, that by definition means you don't currently have one. In fact, he asked 4 Republican senators to come up with one, including Rick Scott, which is hilarious because Rick Scott committed the largest Medicare fraud in American history. His company was convicted of that. He said, "Oh golly gee, I'm just the CEO. What would I know about the fraud that my company's committing on a record scale?" So the guys who've ripped off Medicare and Medicaid before are now in charge of coming up with a new plan, but 2 years from now. They have no plan. They've never had a plan. Their plan was to enrich their donors from day one. So if they actually succeed in the courts, it's going to be a giant disaster for the American people, but an even bigger disaster for the Republican Party. Overnight, if they go all the way through the Supreme Court and win before the 2020 election, overnight 21 million people would lose their insurance. 52 million would be back to being able to be denied health care because of a pre-existing condition. Now Trump, even though he argues in court that he does not want that provision. So anyone who's reporting it, saying that he does want protections for pre-existing conditions is not being honest with you. They're actually doing political correctness and fake news on behalf of Donald Trump. He says, well, I want to protect pre-existing conditions. That's what the Republican Party's for. No, I don't care what you're tweeting. What are you doing in court?
Exactly.
In court, you're saying, no, we do not want protections for pre-existing conditions. So that's the viciousness of the Republican Party. Look, now Nancy Pelosi's clowning him too. I mean, they're busting him up left and right. And these are not, in my opinion, the world's greatest strategists. But they're up against.
It's a layup. It's a layup.
They're up against the. I'm not allowed to say the words anymore. Okay, against the guy with a very low IQ. So what is Pelosi doing? Pelosi, and by the way, getting Colin Allred to introduce this. He's a freshman congressman, helping to protect his seat, etc. That's smart, good, credit where credit is due. And their proposal is, well, look, we think that there should be a resolution condemning what the White House is doing in the courts to try to end the Affordable Care Act. So, Republican House members, let's go on the record, okay? Are you voting in favor of getting rid of the Affordable Care Act? You say you always wanted to, right? Well, this is your big opportunity. sign a resolution saying you want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act and make sure that tens of millions of Americans don't have health care. Go for it, have at it, Hoss.
So there's one other component of the story, because I think it's important to be as balanced as possible when it comes to covering how both parties are handling this. While Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Democratic leadership certainly is doing a good job in taking advantage of this layup by Trump, there's also how they're handling the issue of single payer health insurance behind the scenes. So this is according to the New York Times, and they write, Democratic leadership has downplayed single payer Medicare for all and moved forward on a series of incremental measures to shore up Barack Obama's healthcare law and lower prescription drug prices. Now look, I would much rather have the Affordable Care Act in place right now, as we clearly have gridlock in Congress. And of course, we have a president who has no interest in improving the Affordable Care Act. But obviously in the future, if we do elect a president who's interested in taking care of the American people with a better healthcare plan, I would want a single payer system. And it's clear here that Democratic leadership is moving away from that.
Yes, well, look, so that's for the wars to come. There are three camps in this country. One is the Republican camp, not just the Trump camp. The entirety of the Republican Party has always wanted to destroy the Affordable Care Act. They voted countless times to do that. They never had a replacement, so they are the worst of the worst. Then you have the Democratic Party who says a couple of Band-Aids, Affordable Care Act, yes, the premiums are high, but hey, the people making obscene profits off of that are largely our donors, so we don't mind. Hey, we're covering as many people as we can. We still left out tens of millions of Americans, but we did way better than the Republicans, which by the way should be the Democratic Party's slogan. Hey, at least we're better than the Republicans, which is not very inspiring. Then there's a third camp, which is the progressive camp, which says, how about we fix the system? How about healthcare is a right so no one in America dies because they don't have enough money?
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't die if you don't have enough money for fire insurance or for police insurance or for health insurance. You shouldn't die under any of those circumstances. Those are core government functions to protect your life. And so it doesn't mean you privatize doctors or hospitals or providers in any way, but it does mean that insurance, health insurance, should be part of what the government offers. We all pay into it, and we would all pay less than what we currently pay. Now that is clearly the better path, but the Democratic Party, the leaders are gonna say, no, let's play prevent defense. Let's play prevent defense. I don't wanna do anything. My God, doing something is politically risky. No, doing trying to protect the status quo is in and of itself politically risky.
Right now it is, definitely.
Yes, and look, we already saw this movie. We saw it in 2016. Their brilliant strategy against Donald Trump was sit in place, have an establishment candidate who promises to do nothing but protect the status quo. How did that work out for us? It is literally the only way to lose to Donald Trump. If you actually put forward proposals that would help the American people and fight for positive change, then you could beat Trump. The only way to lose to him is to just sit on your ass. So as much as I compliment the Democratic Party, Pelosi and Schumer today in how they're rhetorically kicking Donald Trump's ass, and yes, he built his own bear trap and walked right into it, and it's a very low bar, but I credit where credit is due on the political rhetoric and actions. But if they leave that and try to play prevent defense for the rest of the 2 years, which they will, that'll be a terrible mistake. And we'll have to fight the Democratic Party to make sure they don't make that mistake again. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.